Hello friends, welcome back. Today I want to show you how I approach the sketching phase of a commission. So how I bring to life my clients' ideas, and I will give you some suggestions on how to do that so that you will have to make as less changes and revisions as possible to the sketch. And that will hopefully save you from potential frustration when it comes to working on commissions. So without further ado, let's start sketching. So when I made the video about commissions, I obviously covered different topics, so I didn't have the chance to really go in depth into each little thing. And one of these things that to me is very important, and I think it should be important for you too, is the sketch itself. And there is a simple reason for that. We all sketch differently, we all have different methods of course, but when I work for a client, I try to make my sketch as clean as possible. You always need to put yourself in the mind of the client and make your idea as understandable as possible for them. There are things you might see in your messy sketch that they might miss, or a pose they might not understand well, and making a clean, polished sketch at the beginning will spare you the pain of unnecessary revision. The illustration I am working on today is for a client that has commissioned me many times to create artworks of the same characters, so by now I know very well what this person looks for in a drawing. But let's assume I was approached by a new client, someone I have never talked to before, and I still need to get to know them and their mind. In that case, I always give different variants of the same pose in the first sketch. So I send them kind of a sketch sheet. The difference between the variants can be as little as an eye wink or a hand position. This is an example of the sketches I created for a new client. See how minimal I kept my sketch? And I made 2 poses with a couple variants each. Giving choices is actually a very useful tip because your client will be inclined to choose one or the other option without getting too confused on what they do not like. If you have worked on commissioned artworks before, you can probably relate to having a client being kind of unable to put their finger on what they actually want to change or dislike and explaining it to you. It's pretty common and normal. Obviously, there might be the chance of your client disliking both choices. That's a possibility, but I can assure you that 95% of the times they will choose one of the options you propose to them. As I said in the commission video, I am pretty flexible when it comes to revisions because I only do them during the sketching phase. So having a clean sketch is crucial, not only for your client to better understand your idea, but also for you when you have to go and fix or adjust something. Messy sketch means a messy fix, and yeah, if you have a tornado of lines, it will be very annoying to go in and fix and change and move things. In case you didn't get it already, keep your sketch clean. That's key, at least for your clients. Trust me when I say that it makes your job 10 times easier. When it comes to accessories, of which I am maybe unsure of the shape or the design, I always sketch those on a separate layer. So if I have to change something, I will not quote-unquote ruin the base character. Things like earrings, necklaces, glasses, as you will see later on, especially glasses, it is much more convenient to sketch them separately since those obviously cover the face, the brows maybe, so you are safe with that too. For this artwork here, the client gave me free choice on the outfit. They only told me to make it sparkly, galaxy themed and not too heavy, so no sweaters or hoodies, something magical. So I thought a top with see-through sleeves would turn out really nice. I would normally work with references of the character on screen. I do have those on my monitors, so that is why you're not seeing them, but yes, always work with your client's character reference so you can get details just right the first time. You don't have to be super detailed, it is a sketch after all, but the general idea needs to be there visually. Remember, you can imagine it and see it in your mind even if you're drawing a blob, but your client isn't in your head, so make sure the details are understandable. 2 last things I want to mention are both questions I get very often, and the first one is, why do I color my sketches in gray when I'm finished? And the answer is, I do that to see the silhouette of my finished character. When you're working on a commission, it is even more important to create a separation between the background and a character. It creates a contrast that will help your client have an idea of what it might look like when the artwork will be finished. For example, as I mentioned before, I wanted this piece to have see-through sleeves, and by only coloring the arm in gray, it will be clear that the sleeve is transparent. You get the idea. Now, this is a head to shoulders portrait, but for a half body and full body artworks, having a clear silhouette will be helpful to you to understand the shapes, see if something is off or if proportions are off. Kind of wraps up a sketch and makes it feel complete. So try it and let me know how it works for you. And the second question is, how do I send the sketches for revision to my clients? And I simply use Google Drive. I send a shareable link to my clients so they can review the artwork in a proper way with a bigger file, etc. I avoid to send the image on chat because it lowers the quality, and some of you told me they are scared to send the file to your clients because you're afraid they might download it and scam you in some way, but I'm gonna assume you will get paid upfront when it comes to commissions. That is the best suggestion I can give you. Always get paid upfront so you are protected from this type of stuff. And even if the client downloads the files, it's not a big deal, to be honest, if it's just a sketch and you already got paid, right? So also it looks more professional. I think that sending the file in chat, unless you know the client very well, maybe it's one of your friends, the quality is way too low for a proper review of the sketch, and you might incur in all those problems I mentioned before where they might miss a detail or something they want to change, and you end up doing that later, and that is gonna be annoying. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. In case you weren't paid upfront or you're still waiting or the other half of the payment, let's assume that's the case, you can still watermark your piece. So you can create like a pattern watermark you can put on the sketch and then upload it on Google Drive or whatever it is your cloud sharing website of choice. Of course, you don't have to keep the files on your drive forever. I only keep it in there for 2 to 3 months, and it is crucial that you tell your clients to download the piece as soon as they get them and store them properly. And when I'm done with the artwork, I still use Google Drive. I just create a nice folder with the name of my client where I put all the variants of an artwork, if it has variants of course, for example white background or transparent background, and I know that those will be there, and it is also much easier for me to do backups of all my pieces when I'm done. Another tip is to sketch with a smooth brush. Avoid using brushes that are too textured and grainy for commission sketches for all the same reasons I already covered. The cleaner the sketch, the better. If you like using pencil brushes, try a fine grain one that doesn't affect your line clarity too much. Or, since I get asked pretty often, you can try the brush I'm using here, which is free to download on my Ko-fi, and I use this one for line art too. I just lower the streamline and stabilization for sketching. You can find it in the description along with all my other sets, which actually my shading set is free too if you wish to try it. Now, I would love to make more videos where I talk about niche informations, kinda like this one, just because I try to put myself in the shoes of people who are just approaching art and art commissions. And honestly, some of these small, seemingly insignificant details, I just wish I knew when I started out. My general experience with art commissions, I cannot complain because it has always been positive, but I would lie if I said I've never experienced annoying moments or issues that could have easily been avoided just by tweaking my process. After all, one of my priorities is making art without worrying too much, right? And if you're too nervous in your commission process, it might affect your entire experience. If you missed my main commission video, I'll put it in the card above so you can watch it, because there I also talked about client communication and how to use social media as an artist in a proper way. I will conclude by saying that There is nothing wrong in the way you sketch, of course. These are just some suggestions that you can take into consideration when working on commissions, because it will genuinely make your job smoother and easier. Of course, if you're just drawing for yourself, for fun, and for personal projects, just sketch however you please, and when you work on commission, you can implement these little tweaks that will help you and your client working faster and finishing a project faster. Oh, actually, as I am recording this voiceover, the client already saw the sketch and liked it very much, but wanted to change the position of the left arm, the left arm, and the hands in general, because they wanted some rings and jewelry pieces to show. And I do not have the footage of me tweaking it, but I'll show you here the piece. This is just an example of a request you might get. The client liked the sketch, nothing was wrong with it, but obviously if the character hand is turned, the rings won't be showing, so that needed a little adjustment. And if you get a similar request, don't panic, just duplicate the sketch layer, hide the previous one and keep it to the side, and start tweaking on the duplicated sketch, so you won't be afraid of ruining it. So I think that's it. I really hope this video was helpful, friends. This was just a little in-depth info on sketches that I didn't have the chance to talk about on the other commission video. Otherwise it would have lasted hours. And if you have questions, any question really about art, please leave them below. Don't be afraid to ask something, even if you think it might be obvious or stupid. There's no such thing as a stupid question, so if you have doubts, I'll be more than happy to reply, and we can also create a nice conversation below. As always, you can find all my brushes on my Ko-fi, linked below. It's a fun way to support me and try different brushes. I love to make special effect brushes that make your art sparkly and fun, so if you want to try those, you will find them in the description. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe if you did, and have a lovely day. Take care. Bye.